Vision Board Workshop. Welcome. Thanks for being here. What's the goal, right? A lot of this, when it comes to creating a vision board, really starts with, what are we trying to achieve with making a vision board? Because maybe you just like arts and crafts, but that's not really going to get you your goal. And so, really thinking about evaluating what it is that we want, setting the goals, creating the vision, and then we're going to build out the board. I wanted to play this video. Let me see if the sound. Hold on, let me stop share real quick. Let me make sure that's the share sound. Play this quick video. I don't know if you guys know Rob Deerdeck. To give you a little background, he was a professional skateboarder really early on, and he's had multiple TV shows. If you've seen the show Ridiculousness, if you've ever been to like a bar, I mean that show is on constantly, and he is crushing it. It's literally the most popular show on um on that channel. And through that process, he's been able to build multiple businesses and really understanding through product placement, brand awareness, all kinds of stuff. And so I wanted to play this quick clip that I found of him that's going to set the tone for today.
I am a 49-year-old man with a vision board. And the craziest thing to me is it's because I have so much clarity in what I want to accomplish in the future that I get highly detailed on what I want that vision board to look like. And then I Photoshop ideas and put it on there so I see it in the future. Listen to what I just said to you. I'm a 49-year-old man worth hundreds of millions of dollars who's arguably already incredibly successful that still uses a vision board as a tool to realize a bigger vision of my life in the future in detail. And it sounds absurd even when I say it. But man, it is such a great part of continually looking towards that better, more ideal, amazing future. So my subconscious and my conscious are constantly working on the plans and the strategies to get there.
Boom. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I am a 49-year-old man with a
Oh,
vision.
next slide. All right, go ahead, Sarah. Introduce yourself.
Welcome, everyone. I am extremely excited to be doing this with Nick. I think this is the first time that we've actually co-hosted a webinar, and Nick has been instrumental in the growth that I've had over the last couple of years through his personal guidance and his collaboration of being a subject matter expert for the Academy. So very excited. I'm the owner of Connector Elders. It's an advisory level referral agency. It's not like a place for mom or caring.com. I make one solid recommendation to whatever the resource is that the family needs. And so I'm making referrals to home care companies across the country all the time. And then I have the Senior Care Sales Solutions Academy. It's our whole focus is redefining the way that senior care professionals serve referral partners and families. And that's in a 2-day training. And then Connect Forward training is really the intensive one-on-one weekly coaching. I am still in the military. There's 2 organizations in my life that I give credit to for my success. And that is the United States military and this organization called Provisors. And I'm a mom. I have a daughter who's a teenager and she's wonderful, but I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Gremlins. I can't tell from day to day if she's the fuzzy little cute gizmo or if she's the scary gremlin. So if any of you guys have teenagers, maybe you can reach out and offer me some moral support here. But welcome.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Hello, my name is Nick Bonitatibus. For those of you who don't know me, owner of Digital Champions, social media, video coach, speaker, and personal development junkie. And though, Sarah and I could do a ton of training on marketing, today really is more about, the vision that we're looking to create for ourselves and focus on this personal development. So you may hear some stuff that's, maybe elder care related and you're like, hey, that's not even, what I do. It's fine. We're not talking about that today. We're really going to be diving into your vision and you're creating your vision board. And so, if you guys got the video I sent out earlier for those that registered, if you didn't, it's all right. We're going to kind of review. But what I'd like everyone to really think about right now is where you rank in these areas. And so, if you have a piece of paper or however you want to do it, a Google Doc, or you bring up the notes because you already did your homework, and just ranking yourself from 1 to 10 in where you are in these areas. And the reason why this is so impactful is because we really need to know where we're at. So we want to find the areas that we want to improve. And so you see physical health, mental health, relationships, career, financial, spirituality, contribution. Adventure is kind of like that's kind of my take on it. I added that one. It's not really common in, there's a lot of different iterations of this kind of Tony Robbins has an aspect of this where it's like your wheel and there's different pieces, but I just feel like adventure is something that a lot of us crave and want to achieve, and ranking yourself in that area, and kind of what that looks like. And we'll break down some of this more specifically, but take a moment and really just think where you're at in these areas. And a lot of times what I've found when it comes to goal setting and really thinking about this is it's it's easy to like want to improve all of the areas or a lot of the different areas, but throughout the year and our focus, it really helps to have that one specific thing that you're going to spend more time and more focus on. But the vision board also the and how we're creating it can evolve in so many different elements, and setting up not just the next year but multiple years, 10 years from now, and really envisioning what that looks like for you and really evaluating where you are, in this area. Sarah, anything you want to add to this slide?
No, I think that you have outlined it really well because the key factor here is that when we think about our satisfaction in life, people are always just thinking, "Am I happy? Am I sad?" But we don't. What we have to understand is that we have these different elements, and we have to support those individual elements within our life so we have fulfillment, right? Because you could have a really good work life, but maybe you're ignoring your family at home, and so now you're not feeling whole and fulfilled. And so we have to address all of the things that you outlined. Nick, is my point.
Excellent. Um, and so really thinking about what do you want in these areas. And so there's a lot of different areas and where this can go, right? From your professional and career and what that looks like, your personal travel, like literally where do you want to go? Right? Things that you want to learn, things that you want to buy, connection, fulfillment, freedom. And I think it's safe to say that a lot of us want more freedom. I think it's one of those core aspects. And whether you're an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, it's something that we all want more of, and the steps and the actions that we take today can help prepare and set us up, because a lot of times the freedom comes with finances and how we're setting that up. And so there's a lot of overlap and connections between all of these things that really align to help us to get to where we want to go. And so just to give you some kind of examples of like professional goals, right? Whether it's income, revenue, profit. Now, I put that example here, but personally, this does nothing for me specifically. I don't like revenue goals at all. It's just not a driving factor for me personally.
Mhm.
And so like when it comes to how you can set goals is you can like reevaluate. And so I was talking with one of my coaches, and basically what I set up for one of my clients, or what for my clients, is that I want to create 100,000 videos for clients. And so now I've said it more in this. I know that when I'm creating 100,000 videos, that those are specifically geared towards education, telling people's stories, and having a direct impact because we're getting more education out there. And that's really what motivates me versus necessarily the dollar signs. And so having that goal, if I get 100,000 videos, you can bet the revenue is going to be there
Uh,
also. And so it's a great way to kind of tailor the two. Something you want to add, Sarah?
No, I love that, Nick, because if you're doing what you love and you're doing what you love well, the money will come.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love it. All right. I'm gonna keep I kind of want to get more into the workshop and participation. So I'm just gonna kind of move through quicker here. So personal goals, right? Relationship, family, fitness. Um, to me, fitness is like a huge one. I have to say this because I know, Sarah's big into fitness as well. To me, there is no greater action that you can do for your life and business than your like physical mental health. And the thing is, what I find is that if you work out, you end up making better decisions throughout everything in your life. You feel better, you're more energized, you show up with your clients, you tend to make better eating choices, which are also a huge factor. You just feel better, then you feel more confident. I mean, and it just pours over into every aspect of your life. It's going to improve your relationships, it's going to improve your family, like so much. And so if you haven't yet prioritized like fitness goals, I highly
Mhm.
recommend making that a key aspect, because I'm just passionate about your physical fitness and what that means. But that can be a lot different. Doesn't mean you got to go to the gym, 6 times a week. It can just be simply prioritizing it more, getting out, going for walks, moving around, just getting your body going, starting there. I know without a doubt, um, it is one of the, if not the most impactful things that you can do to help you achieve the things that we're trying to do and make your goals happen.
Nick, have you always been into fitness, or was there something that happened along your journey where maybe you were active when you were younger, but you got away from it, and then you had to recommit yourself to it, and you've seen the benefits?
Yeah, I mean, I think I played sports in high school, so like part of that was always part of my life, but I wasn't really like super into fitness at that time. I didn't, like running or working out. Baseball was a great sport because they didn't really make us run. I loved it for that reason. I used to laugh at the lacrosse players and soccer players, like, haha, look at them running. And so I didn't really start working out until college. Unfortunately, like my roommate was super into fitness, and then I kind of got into lifting, and you just started to kind of see. And I think part of that too, this actually brings up a great example of the people that you surround yourself with makes a huge impact on your goals. And so if you're around a lot of people that don't like working out, guess what? You're not going to work out a lot. And so I had a roommate that liked to work out. Um, I had a lot of friends that also like to work out. I mean, there were times where I would go to the gym and I would just see so many people that I already knew. It was a part of what we did. But one thing that I think helped me that not everyone else has is that when I was a kid, my parents are very big into fitness, but aren't necessarily in the best shape. My mom's done has like had amazing growth and improvement in just like losing a ton of weight, helping other people to lose weight, always had a big focus, where my dad, not as much. He's pre-diabetic and doesn't really prioritize his fitness as much. But both my parents growing up, they used to buy everything. Every infomercial product, the 6-second abs, the ab slider, the gazelle, the I mean, like literally the classics that you remember from late night television, where they come on and they're using this equipment. I mean, my parents had it all. I actually was home recently and threw out these VHS tapes. I was like, "Are you guys kidding me that you still have this?" But I took a picture of it because I love that aspect, because it just shows that they were trying to prioritize fitness. They were always trying to be healthier, even though they may not have been as successful as they would have liked to be. It always was a priority for them. So that was a long-winded answer, but I appreciate the
But I can
questions. Yeah.
picture that. It's cute.
All right. So travel. Let's talk about this. I mean, come on, people. Aren't there
So
amazing places?
Jason said abs of steel. He did it all through college with his ROTC class.
I love that. Awesome. Yeah, abs steel. Then yeah, there's so many. Oh my God, there's so many. Thank you for sharing, Jason. So when it comes to travel, I always think this is really funny. Full transparency here, right? I'm in the dating world, and so there's so many people that say they want to travel, but they don't actually do anything or take any action to travel. Like, so often travel is just this aspiration and not actually something that people do.
Mm.
Um, and I think it's again, it's like what we see, what we prioritize, and what we put into action is going to be a representation of whether we actually even go these places. You can say you want to go to Rome, right? That's great, and Italy's super high on my list. I'm Italian, I have relatives there. But it's like, how much does that cost? How much is that trip going to cost? Right? Figuring that out, budgeting it out, planning, picking a date. When are you going to go? Who are you going to go with? And like making these travel things an option. Let me know in the
Mhm.
chat. Where do you guys want to go? Throw out some spots. I know so many people like to travel. Let's get some engagement here. Where do you want to go? Or you can unmute yourself and share. I'd love to get some audio too.
I want to go to Scotland.
Scotland. Why Scotland?
Because I watched Outlander and with Claire and Jamie Fraser. That's, I mean, honestly, that's the truth. That's where it came from, and all the beautiful scenes, and I like the way they sound. So I don't know. That's
I'm
how
just
I ended up
picturing
wanting to go to Scotland.
bagpipes. That's all I'm picturing. Just like a guy on a grassy hill playing the bagpipes. That's what I'm
Yep.
picturing. I love it. Madagascar,
Ooh, I've
Italy,
never thought of
Greece,
that.
New Zealand. Nick and a kill. Yeah. You want to picture? Yeah. Maybe next Halloween, Jay. Go around with a bagpipe. I love it. Awesome. All right. Who do you want to do it with? Also, think about that too. Sometimes people don't always have people to go travel with, but they're out there. You just got to be willing to ask, and sometimes people aren't willing to just go out and ask somebody maybe that you wouldn't normally ask. Somebody else that is looking to do something. Um, if you don't
I'm
have like,
curious, has anybody ever taken a trip by themselves? Because I've noticed as I'm getting older, I have this kind of tug in my spirit that says it's time to go take that trip where you're just by yourself. Think what's that movie? And I think it's Julia Roberts or something. Um, she goes to Italy and she does it by herself. I can't remember the movie, but anyway, I just feel like that's something everybody should do in their life, is take a big massive trip by themselves at one point.
I agree. I took one recently this past August. I rented a van and did 2 weeks by myself in a van.
What was that like?
Um, the thing that I like always commented on is that the things that were the best part were also the worst part. So it
Mm,
kind of is it's a weird aspect, but basically the thing that made it great was that I was by myself and I could do what I want. I didn't have to worry about what anyone else wanted to do.
mhm.
Just if I wanted to go here, I wanted to eat this, you just did it. Oh, I just want to chill right now. I'm just going to chill. But at the same time, I was by myself and I would have been nice with somebody else too. So it's like some of the positives were also the negatives, oh, I could park anywhere. Also, well, where am I going to park? And then having to make that decision. So it was a really interesting,
Do you think
you
there
know,
was a lot of growth though, that time just by yourself?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you really especially when I was doing activities like hiking, and you're just like going out in nature. I was very disconnected. My family was certainly worried at certain times because I'm just like hiking in the woods completely by myself. But when you're in that time and you're disconnected from the world, I was just talking to somebody about this recently, actually. When you fully disconnect, um, like, for example, we did a backpacking trip where there was no service, like you had no choice. And I made it a point where, out of the 14 days I was there, I probably maybe pulled out my computer to work like twice.
Wow.
And so it was really just like stepping away, and stepping out. And whether or not you can do that, or it's certainly a goal to be able to do that if you can't. But when you are alone by yourself with your own thoughts, it really helps you to evaluate the things that you want most, and where you want to go. Not
Mhm,
specifically location wise, but where you want to go in your life.
mhm. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're gonna go to Scotland by yourself, taking the trip, planning it.
Hi, good
I
afternoon. I
know.
missed a call from this number. Yes. I see Eva. Yeah. Gautier,
Just
okay.
Justa, can you
Oh,
How can
mute
I help
yourself,
you? This is
please?
just
There.
you
hold
just
on
Can you?
one sec. There we go. Yeah, am I gonna go by myself? I don't know. It's like what you shared, Nick. I can see how it would be very fun to share it with someone, but then I also have this kind of voice that says, just go and experience it by yourself. I don't know if any of you on the call are in businesses, or maybe even if it's not in your work life, but in life, I'm finding as I get older that I value the alone time more. And it's like you feel as you're being pulled a million different directions all the time. And I think that's part of the draw towards, let me just go away by myself on some trip to reconnect with myself. And so I don't know, Nick. We'll find out.
Something to
Maybe,
think about.
maybe. Yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Well,
to me, actually, like when I first moved to San Diego, I wanted to um go on hikes, but I kept like waiting to have someone to go on hikes with. And I was like, this is dumb. I don't need anyone to go on hikes with. And then I just started hiking by myself and found a lot more peace in doing it by myself. So it really, if you're not someone who likes being alone, and then that's like, to me, that's like even a more reason why you should do it, because it's that much more out of your comfort zone to, focusing on your growth can be really, really impactful. Um, Love it. All right, awesome. Let's continue on here. Um, Things to learn, right? I think when it comes to like a vision board, I think this is an amazing thing to add in what you want to learn, whether it's, again, I put the business and the personal here because there may be things like leadership or public speaking, communication. And I put like, these are actual examples for myself. And the public speaking one, I speak all the time and I think I'm a pretty good speaker, but pretty good is not good enough for me. Like, I'm
Mhm.
looking to take it to a whole nother level and learn how some of the greats, like I'll just listen to Jim Rohn sometimes and hear how he speaks, and the way that he delivers content is so exceptional, and trying to, emulate these people that are really amazing. So even if it's something you're really good at, like how can you even be better? I actually saw a video today from Alex Hermosi, if you guys know Alex Hermosi. And that was what he said. He's like, all right, did a good job. How could I do it better next time? With
Mhm.
like every single thing that you do. And then just fun things, right? Learn guitar, cooking. Uh Sarah, how to be still. Let's hear about that. Talk about that.
Well, that's one of my struggles that I'm working on. And so I need to, at the end of this presentation, I put my vision board that I did a couple years ago now, and I need to update it. But how to be still? I have a real hard time just chilling. But I think that now that the first step is admitting it, right? So figuring out how to be still, because I think that is a key part of maintaining health. I don't always have to be doing something, right? And it's about being comfortable with yourself, even if you're just sitting there. And a good friend of mine said recently, carve out time at least once a day where you're just sitting with yourself, even if it's for 5 minutes and you're not looking at your phone, you're not listening to anything, and you're just meditating or praying, whatever you want to call it. But I'm working on adding that, Nick, because I think it would add to my well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I've found meditation to be really impactful. I haven't been as consistent as I want to be, but I have been going to yoga, and I do other forms of meditation. Like a
Mhm.
lot of times I think when people think of meditation, it's like that traditional, like you're just sitting down home. It's like there's a lot of other ways to, like, there's like mindfulness where, let's say you're drinking your cup of coffee and you just focus on the cup of coffee, you feel the warmth. You're just like focusing on being present. It doesn't necessarily need to be this like sit in silence and focus on your breath. So there's a lot of different ways to be still and meditate. But one of the examples that came up for me recently, I went out to a restaurant with a friend, and we walk in and the guy says, or the hostess, hey, do you want to, is it all right if you sit at the bar? And I just kind of like stopped for a second, not really thinking about it, pausing and being like, actually, can we have a table? And my friend had commented, he's like, "I love that you just like stopped and took a pause." And I didn't even realize I had done it. And I credit doing more meditation practices to this instant, because you just stop and think, whereas most people have been like, "Yeah, yeah, sure. I don't want to sit at the bar. I wanted to sit at a
All right.
table."
This is what I love about what you're sharing, Nick, is that you are in tune with what you really want and also accepting of what you really want. And that goes to the small thing like that. But also, how many of us actually want things in life, but we don't ask for them. We're just kind of drifting. We're just kind of accepting whatever comes our way versus living intentionally and saying no to things, whether it's as small as, hey, you want to sit at the bar versus no, what I really want is to sit at the freaking table. And so I'm going to ask to sit at the table. Or like then the big things like in business, and who do we align ourselves with, and who do we take meetings with, or which members of our family do we need to like spend less time with because they stress us out, and those that we need to spend more time with. But it's all about intentionality and being able to tap into what we really want, ask for what we want, and decline what we don't really want.
Yeah, and I think that's huge, the declining part too, just getting okay with saying no.
No.
Yeah. And that comes from having a clear vision of what your goals are. Because if you don't have that, then you end up bouncing around. And but when you have a clear vision of like what you're trying to achieve, and then somebody asks you something, it's like, well, that's not part of like my goals, then that's a no. Right. Like it becomes a lot easier to say no to things when you have more clarity on the things that you want and whether that thing saying yes to you. Because regardless, when you say yes, it means you're saying no to something else.
Oh, that's powerful, Nick.
And
And and
so
and so, yeah, bringing it back to the vision board, that's a good starting point, right? What this is all about is pretty much, not to oversimplify it, but if it's not on the vision board or it doesn't somehow align with what's on the vision board, then the answer is no.
yep, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's powerful. All right, so think about some things, and hopefully, as we were talking, some business, skills came up, personal skills came up. There's nothing like the what I love about things to learn is that you can always learn new things, and like no matter what problems you're facing in your life, maybe it is fitness, maybe it is leadership, it's like there's probably a book for that, you know and there's so many amazing resources out there. There's video resources to learn these things with the internet, so there's really no excuse to not being able to take the time to learn these things without even have to pay for them. Very limited. Things to buy, again, this kind of falls into the money category. I almost like didn't include this on my vision board, but um Chris actually is on the call. Like kind of convinced me to put it back on because it is stuff that I want, but again, it's like not the necessarily full driving force that comes with me. But it's certainly again what we want, and when we put it out of the world we want is how we attract those things. And
And it's
so
okay to want things. So this is something that personally I've had to, I don't know if it's because I grew up poor, so there's almost this trauma in my mind over that I'm a bad person if I want nice clothes. I'm a bad person if it matters to me that I have a nice car. Like those things don't matter. And so there's this psychological component, but I've worked really hard the last 2 years to be like, no, it's okay. I have worked really hard and I deserve to drive a nice car if that's what I want. I'm not better than everybody if I have something that's nice, but it's having to reverse that in my mind.
right, like why do you want it? If you
Mhm.
want it to impress other people, that's probably not a good reason to want it. But if you're like, "Hey, I like nice cars and, I want to feel good when I get into the car." Great. By all
Right.
means. Get a nice car, treat yourself. Um
Mhm.
and there's a lot of great things that you can think about to buy. And maybe this does motivate you, vacations and thinking about that vacation. This is an example actually where one of my friends, he's a nurse, and he was kind of like, there was a lot of different trips coming up and travel. And, he, as a nurse, has the option to take extra shifts. He's like, I don't really want to take shifts. I'm like, what if you rethought about the shifts that you were taking and actually calculated into like, well, this trip is specifically for a trip to Jackson Hole that like we had planned. And so now
Uh-huh.
like every day you're working and it's like, well, these 8 hours are for this trip, and these 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours
Oh,
are
I love that.
specifically for. And so now you're like actually setting this motivation for each day when you're taking those potential extra shifts or working those extra hours, and specifically leveraging that to the things that you want to do, because now it becomes transparent. This is the thing I actually talk a lot about, if there's any home care owners on here, like why, if you just give caregivers more money or your employees more money isn't always the thing, where necessarily helping them to evaluate their goals and what they want to achieve, helping them buy a car, hey, what
Mm.
what do they want to achieve? What do your employees want to be able to accomplish? And then setting them up to then be able to make these purchases, go to Disney, buy a car, buy a home, go back to school. And so now you're able to be like, hey, well, we helped them do this versus, oh, well, it's just more money.
Because money is just a tool, right? It's not
Mhm.
about looking at the money and feeling the money. It's about what money affords us to do. And Nick, that really resonated with me because of course I know I need to grow my business and bring on more clients, but it's almost like I've gotten to the point where I feel like a slave to my business. And so it's like, okay, I know I need to bring on a client, but God, yeah, fine. It looks good. Like I feel good that my bank account's growing, but I can't do anything that I want to do. I'm excited. I'm grateful for that other client because it's going to allow me to take that trip to Scotland and not worry about it.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, and it starts there, just like picturing what it is that you want and making it a priority, you know? You can always
Mhm.
make more money. That's what I always say. I also say it's just money, which like I think it hits core with some people, when you say thoughts around money. There's a lot of really great books. I won't go into it right now just for the sake of time, but if you're interested, let me know. I have a ton of great books that shifted my whole mindset around money and attracting more money into my life. That can be
You
really
should put out a
powerful.
list.
I
Yeah,
have a
let's put
list.
it.
It's called
Mhm.
thedigitalchamps.com/books. And I have a
Oh,
list of all kinds of books that you can check out in different categories: business, marketing, personal development, motivation, money. And then I even have like memoirs as a section there too.
okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Moving on. Um, words of inspiration. This may be things that you just like put onto your board, things that really resonate with you, things that kind of inspire you, words that kind of define. I actually took this one step further, and this was an exercise that I did with a mastermind group that I'm a part of, where basically just taking down what my core beliefs are.
Mhm.
So, see if I can see my board. Yeah. So suffering ends when gratitude begins. It's one of my
Oh,
core beliefs, and I have a bunch, and I can share. Um, do good things, and good things will happen. My dad always said that. So it's kind of like these quotes that identify how my internal beliefs and how I see the world. And so that can be really impactful. I actually even set it up as phone reminders or my background. So my background right now changes every hour to a bunch of my core beliefs and favorite quotes. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing.
what was the one that your dad said?
Do good things and good things will happen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I've lived my
Did
life
he
by
make
that, and
that
it's
up?
worked. Well, I mean, I guess in saying it that way, but to me it's a similar aspect of just like karma, right? What you put
Yeah.
out in the world you get back. Um, and there was a specific example that happened with my father that just kind of even inspired, or my family, I should say, where my dad he's just one of the nicest people ever. And he's just
Oh,
always doing things for other people, both my parents. And there was an aunt that he had that he just like took care of. There was no goal, he helped out. And when she passed away, she ended up leaving him a bunch of the money, even though she had all these other relatives, and that
mhm.
was really impactful for our family, to be able to inherit that. And then he even went and did the right thing and like gave out a bunch of the money to other relatives too, because that's just the kind of guy he is. But he would say, he's like, this is just an example. If you do good things will happen.
That's a really huge insight into why you are the person that you are, Nick. So thank you for sharing that about your family. Thank you.
Absolutely. My parents are pretty freaking amazing. I'm very very grateful. So here is some examples. This is actually my first two vision boards that I made from, cutouts and magazines. And I think, and I'm going to talk about some different ways that you can do this. This is one way to do it, but also we're in such a digital world now where people don't have like magazines and newspapers lying around to go through and cut stuff out. And so, we'll go into some ways to create this, but this was just, I had to work with what I had in the magazines, but a lot of this stuff like turned out um to actually happen. Um
Mm.
my favorite one where where is it? It said one day you're, oh, maybe it's blocked because I have
I love that
that
little
there.
note. Magic is
Uh,
something you make.
the one that I love the most ever is every day will be a personal day.
Mhm.
That
What do you
was
mean by that?
so, I kind of say it differently now today is like, I feel like I'm like always on vacation.
I'm so jealous.
I mean, I live in San Diego, make my own schedule, and like when I want to take time off, I just take time off. And my clients respect that and I do it. And so like um, I think it's those things that set us up and kind of what do we want? Like, yeah, I could work more. I probably could work more, but it's like, what am I working for? I'm
Mhm.
taking a bunch of ski trips recently and I'm leaving one, tonight. And part of that is that life is short and you get hit by a bus tomorrow. Let's be super direct about this because
Yeah.
life is a gift. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. And so, this like planning for the future that may happen, I'm just like, let's do it now. Don't wait.
Yeah, I have a pretty, impactful, story to share around that, and, and I've gotten away from it, so I'm glad that we're doing this workshop because there's a lot that's coming up for me where the vision board that I'm gonna share, with the audience, I back and redo it, right? Because what we talked about, this is not something that's just one and done. This is something that we need to do at least yearly, but, I was driving down the highway in San Diego, and it was, so I'm 41 now, I'll be 42 in May, but it was the day before I was turning 40, and I'm just driving, and I thought, wow, I'm gonna be 40 tomorrow. The next thought that struck me was, wow, that went by really fast. And then the next thought was, I can only surmise that the next 40 is gonna go by even faster because it feels like the older we get, the faster time goes. That's what it feels like for me anyway. And then I thought, probably because I've been in the senior care industry for so long, I was like, oh, that's halfway to 80. And then my next thought was, well, I'm gonna be on my deathbed. And it was like this light bulb came on that said, it's truly all about what I want to do now, how I want to live, who I want in my life, who I don't want in my life, what I'm willing to tolerate, what I'm not willing to tolerate, what do I want to go to the ocean? Do I want to go to the mountains? Like all of those things that I became so hyper clear for a period of time. But back to the point of the vision board, I think I now need to add that on there and get disciplined around it again, right? Because I do think that God, universe, whatever you want to call it, presents us with those insights, but it's up to us what we do with those insights.
Absolutely. And not to go into a tangent because I have a similar story. Basically, in short version, my cousin passed away from brain cancer at 12 years old. And
Oh.
when you experience like a death of a child in your family, it totally changes everything. And even though this was the worst thing that happened to my family, I
Mm,
still say it's the best thing that happened to me because it changed my entire core beliefs and how I saw the world. And so it
mm,
showcases that like these things that she'll never experience that I've already experienced, we take for granted. And so
mm,
it's like I'm already in overtime if that's the case, right? Like we're all on this earth for a limited amount of time, and
mm,
we don't know when that's going to be. And so be bold, take action, do the things that scare you because some people don't get that opportunity to do these
mhm.
things and appreciate the things that you do have right now, you know? Because again, could be gone tomorrow. Appreciate the
Wow,
little things.
that's true.
Um all right, so here, well, I'll go more into the how later. But I wanted to show this is my current example that I recently built and had printed out. Um And so you can actually see kind of the categories. Like the top left is business, the top right is travel, the middle is like things that I want to learn. The middle right is personal, and then like the very bottom is basically things I want to buy. And a lot of this is just again like stock photos. I did make a little magazine for the Fortune one, which I thought was kind of cool. But you could put your own personal photos. Like I got two New York Times best-selling books on here, There's this thing says Fit and Grit. That's like a nonprofit that I want to start eventually. And so, just thinking about, and again, it doesn't have to be, I'm kind of very meticulous. Like I don't like a lot of gaps and spaces. And so I made it very organized, but this is just like how my brain works, where someone else may just kind of put everything anywhere and just throw it on, which is also great. There's no specific like how to make a vision board, like specifically into how it looks. It's your vision board and you can make
Can I
it
say
how
something,
you want.
Nick?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I did feel I'm a little OCD. I did feel like it was all over the place. I'm glad you said. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. It's, yeah, you can
Yeah,
make it
but it's still
yourself.
happening because it doesn't matter. The universe just needs to see it. But for me,
Yes.
it's all over the place.
Mhm.
Yes. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
brought that up too. Yeah. There was a
Hmm.
quote I meant to oh, I think it's on here actually, on this page. Oh no, it's a different quote. It's from the Alchemist. If you've ever read that book, highly recommend The Alchemist. It's a phenomenal book. But basically it says the universe conspires to give you the things that you want.
Did you say the alchemist or the
Alch
optimist? Yeah, that
Alchemist.
alchemist. Yeah,
Alchemist.
that's a great one. That's a great
Yeah,
one.
Paolo
Yeah.
Alto, I think,
Hmm.
is the
Yeah.
author. Yeah. If you
Hmm.
get the audio, really good. Read by Jeremy Irons, who's a great actor. But highly recommend that book. It's basically about a boy going on a personal ledger. A legend that he calls, and just his story. Um, Taking one place to the next and the things that he learned in this process. It's also a
Mhm.
really short and easy book to listen to, so highly recommend.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right, go ahead, Sarah.
So this is going to be a story for you guys. So in 2020, I decided to start my business, and it was going well. But of course, when you start a business, you're like, oh, I'm okay. I'm grateful for the money I'm making, but I haven't replaced that salary yet. I don't. And so these self-limiting beliefs, these self-defeating thoughts came in. It was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't really do this. And so I paused my business and I accepted a full-time salaried position because it was safe, right? And I was doing well. But again, that entrepreneurial nag, right, kept talking to me. And it was like, if you're going to work this hard, Sarah, you should probably be working for yourself, more freedom, all of the things that we talk about. So I decided to relaunch my business, but I was so confused because I felt loyalty because I had made a commitment and I still had the same fears about, can I really do it? Right? Because I did it and I got afraid and I paused it. So if I relaunch again, like now it's do or die. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that statement, but it was like, if I relaunch this time, it's game on, it's do or die because I cannot face the embarrassment if I were to stop again. So I had heard about the concept of a vision board for many years, many years. Like I've known girls, I've known guys, and they have these vision boarding parties. And I always thought maybe it's my Northeasterner in me or the military side, but I was like, that's so goofy. Like I'm never gonna do that. That's silly. But I hit this point in my life where I'm like, I didn't know what to do because I was trying to make this big, massive decision. I felt disconnected, unfulfilled, like I was just this empty shell. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And how can I fix myself? And it's almost like God took over and was like, set me down in front of my laptop. And so my method for doing a vision board was to use PowerPoint. Um, when I tell you about this, it's really true. It's almost like I had this longing, and then something powerful, more powerful than me, took over, and I sat down, and I was like, "What's the best option?" I don't have magazines, as Nick said. You know, so I opened up a PowerPoint, and I just started thinking about my life. And prior to entering into the senior care industry, I worked. I was studying to be an investment banking representative, all this stuff, but there's this term prospectus. And so when you're trying to get investors in your company or things like that, get a business partner, they always want to know, like, send me the prospectus. And I thought, what is my dream life prospectus? what is it that I want my life to look like? And what is it that I'm trying to build in my life that attracts the people that I want in my life, right? So this is the start of Sarah's Dream Life Prospectus. And as you can see, I did it April 11th in 2022. We're now in 2024. And I haven't updated it because what I want you guys to see is that some of the things I more than blew it out of the water, but some of the things didn't even happen, but that's okay. Next slide, please. So this is my dream house. I like the little modern, I like all different architecture, but I like this clean, lots of windows, lots of, sunshine. Hasn't happened yet, but that's okay. It's still in my mind. Next slide. Vacation home. So what you see in this picture is actually from where I grew up. And I could not wait to leave my home. But as I've gotten older, I don't know if we all go through that. There is a deep longing for home. And so the trees, the ponds, just nature, I need to get back to the basics. And so this is a cabin. And my mom has cleaned houses her entire life. I don't know how she thinks she's going to do it forever. She told me last night that actually when I talked to her, and I was trying to talk to her about what she's going to do when she can't physically clean anymore. She said, well, I'll just walk in the woods and a bear would eat me. That's what my mother told me. My mother, if you think I'm goofy, my mother is the goofiest person ever. She really should have her own podcast because we would all gain a lot of entertainment just by listening to her talk.
My mom actually cleans houses too. That's so wild too.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. She's been doing
Nick,
it for she was a teacher, but then yeah, always cleaned houses. My grandmother cleaned houses, and she still has some clients now. Doesn't really do a lot, but usually it's just for she has like a couple senior clients that just need a little bit of help that she can't like cut them off. So she's
Nick,
like
I
still
didn't know
doing.
that. So that's how the conversation started. I mean, with my mom last night, and something that it ended up, my mom's a lot. And it started out as one of those conversations where it's like, okay, I just gotta, yep. And I'm, it's causing me anxiety. And, but anyway, it ended up turning into a good conversation because this is going to go on my vision board when I revamp this. Is maybe it wouldn't feel so overwhelming and she wouldn't be so much if I were to just call her more frequently, right?
Mm.
And so I'm going to implement that. But so back to the cleaning the houses, something that I saw last night is that she was getting emotional because a lot of the people she's cleaned for, she's known for 30 plus years, and they're starting to die. They're these older people, and nobody has ever stopped to think about the grief. She's not family, right? And she's not necessarily hanging out with them, but a lot of these people she is seen on a weekly basis, and she has a relationship. And now all of a sudden she's got all these people that she had relationship with dying. So the grief. Anyway, back to the point of this. I would love that this house that my mom has cleaned for 30 years and it's been in this other generation of the family, if I could one day buy this house, because my mother deserves something like this. And so I work really, really hard, not because I necessarily want it, but I want to reward the hard work that my mother's done and the sacrifice and who she is. So next slide.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Sarah.
My travel bucket list. So I've never been to Yellowstone National Park. I absolutely love nature. I mean, if I had my way, I would just go backpacking and I'd walk the entire Appalachian Trail and just be outside. I definitely want to run on the Great Wall of China. I've thought that for years. The Scottish Highlands, the Northern Lights, and Tahiti. And I was just talking with a friend the other day about this. It's not about going to these places and how it would make me feel important. It's the fact that when I am in the beauty of nature, I feel small. And there's something about feeling small that makes me feel connected. And it reminds me of my place in the greater scheme of things. And so I like to feel that because it's a different level of connection. And it's not even about just viewing the beauty of nature. It is about how being in the presence of nature, God, right, makes me feel. So that's why I've chosen those places. And I need to do it, Nick. So by the way, this has been very beneficial for me because you're right. When it comes to it, just do it. Right. And if my clients don't understand it, that's okay. There's more clients.
I've
Next.
never skied in Utah. Literally going tonight, and I've never skied in Jackson. Well, I snowboarded in Jackson Hole when I was 10, and I fell in an old hole, and I cried, and these two girls had to like get me out. It was this whole thing. So it's redemption. I needed to go back, and but again, it's like you just gotta like put it on the calendar and go do
Do
it,
it.
make it happen. Yeah,
Take lots of pictures.
yeah.
And then the other thing when I tell you guys about how I was just at this crossroads in my life and I felt lonely. I felt really lonely. And so there's the relational aspect of our life. And I have updated this one just last night because it made sense to you. So there are, my cousin who I grew up with, my mom, you can see her, you can see her goofiness. I'm sure you can in her in her face. And then of course my husband, my stepdaughters, referral sources that are friends, and my daughter, my brothers. But I've added on here, and what's interesting is there's people that have been really pivotal in my development and my success the last few years. We've got Nick up here, Michelle and J.M. Simmons, my first ongoing consulting client, Jensen Jones, Stephen Tweed, Terry Law, right? She's been a subject matter expert. Over here, we have Chris, who's an estate planning attorney. But I think that we all need friends in our life that they understand if we go MIA for a while because we get busy. But they don't make us feel guilty about it, right? They're okay that we're on our journey and we understand they're on our journey. And so look for those friends that understand that if you don't call them back, that it's nothing personal, and that when you do connect, you just pick up the phone. But I see a lot of people who are basically in these semi-abusive relationships with just their friends, right? It's not just an intimate partner. There's these elements of guilt rather than support. So avoid that, okay? But look for those friends that if it came down to it and you are in a bind and you're like, I need you to come get me. Or it's the middle of the night and you're like, I am sad and I feel down, that they are there for you and you would do the same for them. So all these people that you see here are those types of people. And I'm super, super grateful for that. And Nick, again, since you're sitting in front of me, very grateful for your support, because I know in the beginning when I relaunched my business that I called you a lot. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to want me. I don't know if I know what I'm doing. And so you were very supportive. Next
Bunch
slide.
of late night calls. Yeah, one thing I wanted to share quick about this as you were sharing this story. Well, first off, thank you for including me on your board. I appreciate that. But like when it comes to your life, I forget where I heard this story, so I can't take credit. But it's like you're basically a tree in your relationships, and there's people in your life that are leaves, and they'll be there for a short time, and then they will leave. There's people who are branches, and they'll be there, and some of them are stronger and bigger than others, but they may fall off here and there. And then you have your roots, and like those
Mm.
people in your life that will always be there no matter what happens in your life, where you go, how much time you spend with them, call them or not. When you call them, they will answer. And I think we all need those types of people in our life, and appreciate you know who those people are, those roots, not to take those individuals for granted.
I love art. And so when I update this vision board, I'm going to create a tree. And then I'm going to put the root people right in the roots. And then
Love it.
anybody that's current, right, are going to be these leaves. And then maybe over time they move to a root status or they fall off as a leaf. So I'm going to send it to you when I do that. But I love that visual.
Love it.
Next slide. So financial health, this is where, and this is very uncomfortable for me to share because I feel weird talking about money. We grew up really poor. Where I'm from. I mean, my parents were really good people, hard workers, did the best they knew how, but they grew up in poverty. And so we grew up in poverty. My dad's logger, my mom cleaned houses. anyway, so the concept of money always has some sort of guilt, and I've been told it's called the poverty mindset. And so what I've been focused on is fixing that mindset, and that it's okay. I'm not a bad person if I have money, right? I don't think I'm better than others if I have money. So I've been working through that stuff. So when I did this vision board, I said by December 31st in 2023, I was going to have a 6-month emergency fund, because keep in mind, I had launched my business. I'd walked away from a 6-figure salary and then went through it. And so when I decided to relaunch my business, I had to rebuild. I had depleted things. I wanted the 6-month emergency fund. I wanted $50,000 in savings, 50,000 in investments, and then the annual income. So, again, I feel weird talking about this. I will just say that I have met these goals, and it feels, for me, it feels like safety, right? And that's where money, or how money translates for me, is it feels like safety. It feels like I'm not going to have to be that girl that gets made fun of because we didn't have new school clothes because my parents couldn't afford it. It makes me feel like I can be a good mom, right? Because I'm able to make sure that my daughter doesn't have those feelings that I had growing up, right? Because I can make sure that she has the things. So, yeah, I guess as you can see up there, money is not the end all be all, but it's what allows for the desired home, the desired travel, the desired adventures, lifestyle, right? And this is the one thing that I had to get past. Anyone that says money isn't important in this earthly existence is fooling themselves. It is important, but it's not about the money. It's about, what do you want to do with the money? And so when we talk about this vision board, what I would encourage you guys is that when you add this element, go a bit deeper on this and think about, what is it that you want the money to do for you? What are the feelings that you want to have by creating the money? And so for me, one thing, great, now it's time to travel and not be afraid of losing the money, right? So now we're circling back to the other aspect on the vision board, and not, I think it's about telling it to the universe and continuing to look at the vision board. Because one thing that I did, you guys, that I would advise you, once you create your vision board, don't just create it and forget about it. What I did for a period of time once I did this is that next slide, because I think I put this in the last slide, what I'm sharing now. I get ahead of myself. Here was my professional life, right? I had this whole empowering aging concept. I had this concept of always ready, always forward, engage, train, retain. But out of these 4 logos, the 2 that have stayed is the Connect Our Elders and then the Connect Forward training. But I'll be redoing this because I'm going to rebrand soon. And I think that's just the natural evolution. But to share that I looked at this, and I definitely brought 2 of these forward. Next slide. The empowering aging concept, and here's what this is kind of like a mini business plan. And this is the detail that I went into in my vision board. And you don't have to. And I think what Nick and I are trying to show you is that your vision board is yours, and you can get as broad as you want, or you can go super detailed, right? And so this is kind of my vision for the business. Next slide. Home care retreat. I had actually forgotten.
Can I ask you to go back to the previous? I was reading it, please.
Oh, sure.
I like the way you put all that here, because I used to
Thank
have
you.
goals separately, but I like the way we incorporated
Thank
senior
you.
housing placement services.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I will share this with anybody that wants it. Yes, it
Yeah,
makes
and
me
we'll
feel a
send
little
out
bit
the
vulnerable,
recording
but
too. Yeah.
okay,
Thank you.
next slide.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry.
So I had forgotten about this. But Nick, you and I have done a lot of conversation around my business and the pricing, and I look at this and it made me recognize that while I've had growth, guess what? I didn't stick to this. And so maybe now that I reviewed this after a year of not looking at it, okay, maybe it's time to just go back to what I originally envisioned. But again, what I want you guys to take away is that I decided to go very deep detailed into my vision board. Yes, is this a PowerPoint? But this is what served as my vision board, because I would look at this every morning. I would look at it every night. Next slide. Again, very detailed into what I wanted to do with my business. I don't have to, brief you guys on it. I just want you to see the concept of how I did my vision board. Next slide. Now, so I've kind of, but what I want you to know is that not all of it came true, but a lot of it did. And I firmly believe, had I not been guided or just reached that point of, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm so confused, and sat down and done this vision board, I do not think that I would have made the progress that I have, because I organized it for myself. But that whole law of attraction, the whole put it to God, right? That's what we're talking about. I don't care what you call it. But what we're saying is, I am speaking to something higher, and I'm saying that this is what I want. But it's just like when we deal with people, individuals, how can they help us if we don't tell them what we want? But the same thing is true for God and for the universe. Unless we tell it what we want, how do we expect for it to know? And so, anyway, a lot of it did come true. It's not a one and done exercise, guys. This is a tool that you do, you review, and you keep putting it out there and you keep adjusting it. The act of doing a vision board must be an ongoing exercise. So I've already admitted I need to update mine. Once you complete the vision board, you need to review it. I really think review it every morning and review it each evening before you go to sleep. And here's another exercise too. When I did this, there was that period of almost internal battle, call it spiritual warfare, right? There's all kinds of ways that we can talk about that uncomfortableness that happened once you put it out there. So another exercise, when I started feeling this pull to go backwards, I literally would look at myself in the mirror, and I'm sure you guys have heard the concept of affirmations, right? And I just started doing it, talking nicely to myself. It feels so goofy. But I started looking myself in the mirror and I started saying, Sarah, you are okay. And looking, like literally talking to myself, you are okay. You deserve this. You do know what you're talking about. Sarah, having boundaries does not make you a bad person. Sarah, having boundaries does not make you lack compassion. And I had to start reprogramming my brain so that way I could be positioned to receive the things that I put on the vision board and put out there. So that's another thing. Be prepared for receiving, because we can put it out there and God, universe will try to send it to us. But if we're not in the right mindset for receiving, it's all for naught. So you add that element. Okay. Anyway, you deserve to have what you want in your life in all areas. What harm could it possibly do to take an actual physical action in communicating those desires by documenting them? This is what we're talking about. Take the action. It's not enough to think about the things we want. It's not enough to just talk about it. Put it, document it. And then the other thing that I did is that when I made this PowerPoint vision board, I sent it to Jensen Jones. I sent it to Stephen Tweed. I sent it to Michelle and J.M. Simmons. I shared it with my husband. I shared it with my closest friends. And then I basically enlisted them into this, right? And so when you make your vision board, you guys share it with people, really, because people want to help people. But unless we tell them exactly what we need, they don't know how to help us. So that concludes my 2 cents on why you should do a vision board the way that I did it. And then also those little extra things about talking nicely to yourself, so that way you can be open to receiving when it starts coming.
Yeah, I love that. And this was a quote that I had found. I think it perfectly sums up, and Sarah touched on this, right? Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. And none of this matters. You can listen to this a million times if you don't actually like create the vision for yourself and do the actions with it. This is something that I've talked on my podcast a bunch about, and like creating habits to creating this action to being able to create the habits and being the person that you want to be that's going to attract things. Some people, let's be, do, have, right? If you want to have the things on your vision board, you've got to do the things. But before you can even do the things, you have to be the person. If you identify as someone who's not a healthy person, guess what? You're never going to, eat right and exercise. You have to change the identities. And I think that's part of what Sarah was mentioning with affirmations and staring at yourself, like telling yourself who you are and focusing on not who you are necessarily, but who do you want to be, and becoming that person so that you can do the things that will then get you the things that you want to have. And so I know we're like at like a little over, but one thing I did want to show real quick, if you guys still have some time here, was specifically just like some quick how to's on actually creating this vision board, using one of my favorite tools, which is Canva. If you guys aren't familiar with Canva, it's really amazing tool for just like graphics. And so I'm gonna share real quick again, just for the sake of time, be quick with this. But what I did was I did like a section on travel, right? Personal, and you have like all of these photos that you can grab from. There's just like stock photos. And then you can also just, if there's one that you don't want, you can just go to Google, literally search whatever you want. Watch this fancy car. This is cool, right?
Fancy.
The first word that I thought of. Go to images, right? Um, Literally, you can just copy. I just wanted to show how easy this is and paste it in. Like it's really that easy to building it out and just like grabbing stuff from Google, dragging stuff, photos of your life and just building this out. And you can kind of either do it how I did it, where you just kind of have these different sections that you want to do,
Mhm.
or this was like one iteration because I was trying to like fit my quotes and fit different stuff in it. And then this was the end product that I just, and it was really affordable too. Like once I designed this into one format, I was able to just go to Office Depot and print it out for like, literally it was like $15 to get this printed out at a good length and like high quality. So I recommend using this. And again, Canva has a bunch of free stuff. There's, you get more photos with the Pro, but if you don't have the Pro, there's still, plenty of stuff. But like I said, you can just go to Google and Google the things that you want, copy and paste, and build
And
out
when you
this board.
printed it out, Nick, what did you do with it? Is it posted? Where's it posted for you?
Yeah. So I don't know if I can't see. I think I have my self view hide it. So I'm gonna move it over, and then there it is right there. Um,
Mhm.
so basically, every time I walk out my door, it's like something that I see right there every time.
Mhm.
I probably could have put it a little lower, but I have a whiteboard right there, and so I didn't. But like, I recommend putting it somewhere where you're gonna see it every single day. And there's an aspect of just like reprogramming and rewiring your brain that's happening, working on the subconscious mind, which is why like affirmations work, like, talking to yourself and what you say. And a lot of times those negative thoughts that you're saying to yourself um are actually reprogramming your brain in a negative way. The example I always love to use in that regard is, you have we have two wolves in our head, right? A positive and a negative. It's like, well, which one's bigger? It's the one that we feed.
Mhm.
And you get more of what you focus on. So if you're focusing on more of the negative, you're focusing on all the things you don't have, you're just going to get more of that. Where if you focus on all that you do have, and that's where like that abundance mindset comes into play, and being grateful for the things that you have, you attract more of those things. And there's a lot of aspect of just law of attraction. And if you haven't like read the
Mhm.
book, or there's a movie too, The Secret,
Mhm.
it's free on YouTube, you can go watch it. It talks all about the law of attraction and just bringing things into your life.
Right, and let's talk a little bit about that um, because some people, right, and so that way we capture everybody. Um, I I split my time between San Diego and Tennessee, so like the South, right? And so when we talk about Christianity or the religious aspect. Some people say, oh, law of attraction, it's from the devil, right? Like they think that it's counter to God, right? And that type of spirituality. And so I've actually thought a lot about this and processed it. Think that it's actually all the same, because it's just, what are we calling it? Like, are we calling it law of attraction and putting it out to the universe, or we're calling it like, okay, we're praying and we're asking God for what we want. And so I just want to encourage you that if the term law of attraction and, all abundance mindset feels counter to maybe how you were raised in possibly a very religious dynamic, just shift it in your mind. It's okay to think about that. Just put a different spin on it, right? You're praying, you're asking God for what you want. That's what we're talking about. But that has come up, Nick, with some people. They're like, oh, well.
Well, and one of my favorite things, I was talking to my grandmother who's fairly religious, and I was talking about, yeah, I want to like make money so I can do this and that. And she's like, oh, money is the root of all evil. It's like, no, 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 that's not the quote. The quote is, um, the what is it? Now I'm drawing a blank. The love of money is the root of all evil, right? And so you can want money. It's the love of money that's the issue, right? It's like this greed aspect
Right.
that is not good. And so like that's one, I think one of the biggest things, understanding when it comes to like creating vision boards, that a lot of people in general just want more money, right? Like we know this, and often when it comes to money, we can't focus on getting all these other things that we want if our basic needs aren't met. Like if you don't have a roof over your head, or like, you're able to pay your bills and get food, then like all this other stuff doesn't really matter. But if you're here right now, you probably have like your basic needs met. And so it allows us to really think about like our beliefs around, like that was part of why I wrote down a lot of my core beliefs. It's like, what are the beliefs that you were raised
Mhm.
with? And a lot of that is embodied. I mean, I know, my dad, money doesn't grow on trees, right? How many times have you heard that, right? There's so many negative connotations and beliefs around money that people have. And until you reverse engineer and reshape, remove your limiting beliefs and previous beliefs and create new beliefs around money, and then you won't be able to attract it. And so it's a big aspect of able to attract the things, is really looking at like what our core beliefs are and understanding them and recognizing them.
Mhm. Mhm. I feel like we could almost do an entire other. I know we're already
Yeah,
keeping people past
yeah,
the
right,
hour, but
yeah.
I mean, as we continue to talk about the vision board and getting deeper into those beliefs, it's such an important element, because as you said in the beginning, this isn't just arts and crafts, right? This is powerful work we're doing, and there is the deeper beliefs around it, and maybe some beliefs that were instilled into people as you were raised that could really prohibit them from getting the most out of the exercise of the vision board.
Mm-hmm.
Another, I told you guys about the kind of the epiphany before I was turning 40, but something recently, Nick, I think I told you this maybe, but last weekend I was
Mm-hmm.
just driving again. And I have been, and I'll share with you guys, like I had started to experience some serious burnout. And I don't know if you guys have ever had burnout. I don't think I ever had before. I've been tired, I've been stressed, but it's a different feeling. It's kind of eerie. It's a combination of sort of, I'm grateful, but I'm depressed. I just want to pack up all my stuff and leave. But I'm really grateful. I love everybody. I just want everybody to leave me alone. Like it's a very weird feeling. And anyway, I felt it about a month and a half ago. But guess what? You're running a business, and I'm obligated to deliver with my clients. I was like, so
Mm-hmm.
what do you do as a good little soldier? A good little soldier, one foot in front of the other, you just drive forward. And that's what I did. But then it hit me even harder, right? And so anyway, so I'm trying to figure out, okay, I know I'm feeling it, but how? How can I take time? How can I actually take some time? And but there's all this mindset around it, right? And so I need to put it on the vision board. And Nick, you said it, right? You just tell your clients and they understand that you're taking time off, but there's all these deeper beliefs in it. There's the fear that They're going to think I'm not that good. I don't really know what I'm doing. People are going to leave me. I'm not, it's going to affect my reputation. There's just all this talk. And anyway, I was driving down and I thought, what's the one thing about life? Life just moves forward, like no matter what.
Mhm.
And I thought, okay, well, if I decide that I'm going to take a week off and I let my clients know, and one of them says, well, we don't want to work with you anymore because I want to take some time off. Okay, well, maybe that's not the right fit, right? And I will be okay. And it's really getting past that, getting over the fear-based thinking, and that life is going to take care of me, right? God's got me, whatever the heck we want to call it. But like, it's okay to advocate for ourselves, to have what we want. And so anyway, just trying to tie it up with
Yeah.
the deeper meaning behind the vision board and the way of thinking, but it's not easy.
Mhm.
Like, to think that you just change the way you think overnight, it's an ongoing process.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of great resources and things available. But for the sake of time, I think I'm
Mhm.
glad you guys are here. Sarah and I
Mhm.
greatly appreciate your time for being here, for showing up, and um,
Mhm.
you know, I think Sarah and I did talk about a lot of stuffs here, a lot of stuff, and I think I was somewhat planning on doing more of like actually making the vision board, but that's all right. Now it's your homework. Because now I think the goal here was to really stir up the ideas and help you to create a plan and help you to really map out what you want for your life. And so I'd love to, whether you send it to me or send it to Sarah, but I'd love to see what you guys create in creating this vision board. So go take action, create this vision board. Thank you again for being here, and have a great rest of your week. And hey, let's make our dreams happen.